Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where we are currently on our way over to Pole. So we need to set this as our target, and yes, we are retrograde from Pole, but I don't really care all that much. So we're going around this direction. That means that our inclination change is going to end up being here. That's awkward timing, but I guess it's okay. So we are going to be going this direction, and we're angling for 180 for our inclination. There we go. That'll do. Not very much at all. That is a 14 meter per second burn. Let's align for that, and of course, at this point, turning isn't too bad for us. We can turn pretty easily. So that is wonderful. So we'll get a line for this. We'll have to do some warping, but it's absolutely okay. Also, we're going to be testing this landing gear and seeing if this is a KSP2 design flaw, or if that was a Tylo thing. That'll be an interesting thing to find out. But for now, of course, we're going to pull, right? We're going to pull, right? We should double check that. Let's hop over to mission control real quick. Just double check it. That's ELU. Radiation observation in the lowlands on pull. Okay, so lowlands on pull. Perfect. So back to the tracking station, and we're going to, of course, fly this current vehicle. There we go. And we are aligned at this point, and we're going to hop on over to this marker. So that'll be perfect. Got about 30 days left, and now 4 hours. We'll continue to warp a little bit here. 3 minutes. Okay. 2 minutes. 1 minute. 10 seconds. And 4, 3, 2, 1 mark. Now, I'm not doing this full throttle. We overshot it ever so slightly. How are we doing here? 179.9. I'm going to call that good enough. So, at this point, we need to look at a home and transfer. So, that is going to be bringing this on in and finding a rendezvous. What's that looking like? That's not too bad as far as the timing goes. We're going to need to change our timing a little bit, but it's not going to need to be too much, to be honest. Okay, somewhere around here. I'm just looking for an actual encounter. I'm not sure exactly what we've got going on here. It looks very, very close. I don't think that's quite an encounter. Okay, let's focus our camera for now on Jewel, so we can kind of see what we've got going on here. Okay. Right, I see. So a little bit of radial tossed in there would do the trick. Most likely. And then from there, we can just tune this in. This is a very, very small sphere of influence that we're trying to get into. No doubt about that. Very small sphere of influence. That's an encounter. What kind of encounter is it? Okay, I can work with this. Let's dial that in a little bit. Continue bringing that in. And now we're going to need to bring it down a little. That's an impact trajectory, and it's gone. Okay, that's an impact trajectory. Now the question is, which direction is retrograde? I don't think it matters. So this is pretty decent here. 16 kilometers periapsis. I mean, we're probably going to have to tune that a bit, but that seems okay. Let's align for that burn. And that looks absolutely fine. 258 meters per second. We're not going to hit it perfectly, but it should be good enough to get us the encounter, in theory. So that's going to be in a while. We're going to have to warp ahead about another year. That's okay. Our Kerbonauts do not mind sitting around and waiting for a year. So that is absolutely wonderful. We're going to warp forward starting now. Cool. So this is going to be a 12-second burn. To be honest, we could have found a sooner encounter, definitely, but it's fine. It's fine. We're going to continue to auto-warp forward, actually. We're still a ways away. Okay. Now we're about a minute away. About 10 seconds away. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, we've got about 8 seconds left in this burn. We want to hit this as accurately as we can. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. I believe we slightly undershot that, but I'm going to call it good. Okay, we don't have an encounter at all. So, let's just position ourselves at the retrograde marker. That's an encounter. You know what? I'll accept it. An encounter will do the trick. So that's okay. At this point, of course, we want to warp our way up to about here. Yes. We'll warp to there. Hang on. We're going the wrong way. I tried to cancel our warp there, and it happened after we went through. Okay. That's because the warp doesn't immediately change, unlike in KSP1. Well, that's unfortunate. I warped to the wrong side there because we're going retrograde. Right. That's my own fault. 100% that is my own fault. So let's focus this on pull. I'm hoping to be able to turn the camera at some point. That would be, you know, reasonably nice. But apparently we can't do that. That is illegal. So that's fine. We're going to have to do another encounter. Okay. That's very awkward. Very awkward indeed. I wonder. What if we just radialed this a bit? And did something like that? Well, you know, turning the camera would be nice. I'm going to close that and reopen it. Now we can turn the camera. Okay. Fantastic. We could before, but it was incredibly slow. So we're going to just work on dialing this in a little bit here. We're going to need just a bit of prograde. I think. No. We're going the wrong way. There we go. 11 meters per second. That'll do. We'll try it again. Cool. So let's get in position for that. This time I'm not going to warp to the wrong side of it. I canceled it well before we got there, but because of the way that warp works in KSP2, we still overshot. Because when we're up here, it actually takes it like 4 or 5 seconds to warp all the way down. Because it interpolates the lerp. Or rather, it interpolates the warp. Which is, I don't know. I get why they wanted to do that. It has some gameplay effects. Okay, so over we go. Cool. See how long it took to come out of that lerp? It's not 4 or 5 seconds. It's like 1 second. But even so, it takes a little bit for the lerp to get where it's going. And that's not just a visual thing. It actually changes the lerp. Okay, so let's position ourselves here. 41 seconds. Sounds good. 30 seconds. 20. 10. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. Is that an encounter? We're going to find out. Yes, it is. Close enough. Sounds good. So this time we're coming around this direction. And we'll warp to here. Okay. Now, we're coming in retrograde, and the question is, we're coming in on this side. How long do we have? We've got a little bit of time. I'm wondering about the rotational velocity of pull. It's almost non-existent. I think we might be tidally locked. Okay, noted. That's reasonably fine. Let's just warp not there, but like there. Okay. I want to make sure that we are in this encounter. There. That's where we want to warp. Okay, wonderful. So we're not in the sphere of influence yet because it broke our warp, but let's hop into here. We want to be in the SOI. Now, the question is, what's our orbital velocity going to be once we get here, right? That's an interesting question. There we go. Now we're in the sphere of influence. So we're going to 3223. Okay, yeah, that's pretty fast. Really? This is inverted from what it's supposed to be. Okay, let's close that and reopen it. Change our angle. No? This angle's fine. Whatever. Okay, so we're going to do a retrograde burn here. This is going to be a very hefty burn indeed, although I believe we overshot that. Weird burn. Weird burn indeed. Very strange. Okay, we can't create a maneuver plan from here. We'll turn it to this side. We'll create a maneuver plan. This is so bizarre. I don't know what our burn is doing here, to be honest. Is that a further encounter? Wild. Wait a sec. That looked like that was a correct burn for a moment there. Okay. So, I mean, we're coming in very fast. We knew that was the case because we're coming in retrograde, but that's relatively okay. Let's drop our periapsis down to here or so. And again, this is because we're retrograde, but it's fine. So this is 6 kilometers. That's maybe a little on the low side. Let's bring this up to somewhere around like 15 kilometers. That'll be okay. So yes, this is going to be a very hefty burn, but this is not surprising in the slightest. And this is by far the largest burn that we're going to need to do here. So, again, this is because we're retrograde. We could have flipped our directionality earlier, and that would have been a significant gain for us. But for the time being, this will be fine. Okay, so we're going to align ourselves for this burn. And let's bring ourselves right on down. I'm not concerned about the amount of DV that this burn is. It will not be an issue. Okay, let's warp to that. That'll be in about 2 minutes. Excellent. Now about 30 seconds. And yeah, the weirdness that I was seeing was further encounters in like future encounters because it's going to be so much DV to actually slow this down. But that's okay. Let's go. This will be about a 2-minute burn here. We can go up to 10x. Wonderful. And we're just slowing on down here. About 30 seconds left in this burn, and that will be fine. Let's check in on our current situation here. Yeah, the game is very confused about coming in retrograde, it seems. That's okay. We know what we're doing. And we also know why this is so expensive. It shouldn't be this expensive, to be clear. But we came in retrograde to the moon's orbit. That's understandable. I just didn't feel like fixing it. So we've got 8 seconds left. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. That should do. 22-kilometer periapsis. I'm reasonably okay with that, but I do kind of want to dial that down. Let's go over to retrograde. Let's bring it down to that 15-kilometer mark. We're probably going to have some warping issues. I'm aware of that. Okay, that'll be fine. And then at the periapsis here, we're going to create a maneuver plan. We're going to go retrograde. Game is very confused right now. It's because of the ascending descending node. I'm going to clear our target. It shouldn't have a target here, but whatever. We're going to circularize this right around here. That's going to be 15 and 14. It's not perfect. Let's change that timing a little bit to be more like this. That timing isn't perfect either. That's better. Okay, so we'll align for that particular burn. Warping is likely going to be a problem down that low, but it should be fine. Also, it should be, yeah, 15 kilometers will be plenty of clearance, looks like. Okay, excellent. So we'll get into position for this burn. And we'll bring this on down. We've got lots of delta V still. Like, look at our orbital velocity right now. We're going to be shedding off 32 delta V. But yeah, there's not a lot of gravitation here, so we're not concerned about the 3 kilometers per second that we just wasted by coming in retrograde. That is not concerning in the slightest, to be honest. So around we go here to the periapsis. We're going to want to be over the lowlands, if I recall correctly. I'm probably going to double check that after this burn. Okay. So we're about 40 seconds away. We can warp pretty decently here, actually. 30 seconds away. 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. I'm not full burning this. Okay, overshot it ever so slightly. It should be okay. That should be fine. So now we want to come around to the day side, and we want to make sure that we're going to be coming down in lowlands. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. We're over highlands right now, so that is definitely noted. I'm going to hop back to mission control. We're going to double check one more time that it is, in fact, lowlands. Lowlands. Yes, confirmed. Okay, so back to the KSC. Actually, we don't need to go to the KSC. I wanted to go to the tracking station. This is an unnecessary loading screen. You're welcome. Oh, boy. So, yeah. That's a little sad. Well, we didn't need to be here, but we do need to go into the tracking station, and that is fine. So, to the tracking station we go, and then the flight over Pol right now. So, Jewel, Pol, Lander 20. Fantastic. Okay, so here we are, and we want to make sure that we are going to be over lowlands, but we also want to be on the day side, right? So we're going to come in over this direction. Our experiment has finished. Wonderful. And we're going to warp this right on around. Okay. So, day side. Are we over lowlands right now? Yes, we are. This is considered lowlands. I'm wondering what this is up over here. I'm going to create a maneuver plan here, and that's going to be getting rid of our horizontal momentum, pretty much like that. We'll find out if this is lowlands once we're over it. We're going to warp to about here. That's mountains, so that's this over here. That's mountains. Highlands. This is lowlands. Okay. Let's move this forward. We're going to start the burn shortly. Although, we're facing the wrong way. I'm going to move the burn out over here. This is still lowlands. And we want to flip this around. I'm going to go into surface velocity. I'm also going to make a quick save before we land, because I am going to extend these landing gear, and we'll see if they break again. That'll be very interesting to find out, but we'll make a quick save shortly before we land, just in case they do break. I just want to know if they're functionally broken in this setup or not. We'll find out. Okay, we've got 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1... mark. Let's get rid of that horizontal speed. Excellent. We're moving at 3 meters per second right now. I'm going to move this to surface retrograde at this point. I am going to extend these landing legs. We'll see if they're broken here or not. That may have just been a tylogravitational thing, and we'll figure that out. Hi, Jewel. I didn't intend to look at you, but whatever. I am going to make a quick save here, and we'll probably make another one a little lower down. But this should be lowlands throughout, so that looks good. We're going to warp to probably about here or so. Maybe a little higher. I'm not sure exactly what our speed is going to look like. That's really not bad. Yeah. That is really, really not bad. Now, I'm going to go into our resource manager here. And we're going to go into our hydrogen tanks. We're going to grab all of these tanks that have any amount of fuel missing. And we're going to say that this is out, out, in, out, in, and then out, in, and out, in. Like this. There we go. We're just moving our center of mass down. There we go. So we're at 40.5 meters per second right now. Okay, that seems good. And let's do a quick burn here to see what this ends up looking like in terms of deceleration. Very rapid. Okay. That is noted. So that seems fine. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring us up over here. We've still got some horizontal speed, and I'm just doing a very, very cautious burn here. Like that. That'll get rid of some of that horizontal speed, also some of the vertical speed. And then we're going to warp down a little bit further here to about here. About 1 minute into the future. 4x is the best we can do. Noted. Okay, and downward we come. We're currently about 4 kilometers off of the ground. Okay, let's reorient. I'm going to make a new save once we are at about 2 kilometers off of the ground, and we are going to try landing with these landing legs. If they break, we'll revert it and land again. But in theory, this should be fine. Right? Should be. Double checking that we're over the lowlands. We are indeed. Looks good. And this landing site looks to be probably reasonably flat. We'll see how flat it actually is. So we're going to be about 2 kilometers from the surface shortly. We're moving at about 50 meters per second. We do not want to burn here because otherwise it's going to take us a long time to get to the ground. I'm going to start our burn at about, I don't know, like 800 meters up. But we'll do a save at 2 kilometers. Okay. Doing a save here, that's what we'll revert back to if our landing legs break again. Honestly, I expect that to be a Tylo issue, not a pull issue. I think that there was just too much weight for the gravity, and that caused the physics on these to just completely break. That's my theory, anyway. So we're down to 1,400 meters above the ground. We appear to be coming down right on top of this, which may not necessarily be ideal. But we'll see. Okay. I'm going to commence a bit of a braking burn here, bringing us down in speed a decent chunk. Okay, we're moving at like 10 meters per second. I'm cutting our throttle, and yeah, coming down right on top of this ridge is not necessarily ideal. We'll see how flat it actually is, but it looks like it might not be all that flat. We'll see. So we're moving at around 11 meters per second right now. I'm going to let ourselves drop down a little bit further here. Okay. So we're currently about 300 meters off of the ground. I'm decelerating us a little bit. 7% thrust is decelerating us. Noted. 1% thrust is not decelerating us. Okay. 3% thrust is a very slow deceleration. So we want to be at like 2 or 3% thrust for this landing. Noted. And we shall see whether we land in a stable location or not. I'm kind of thinking this isn't going to be all that stable, but we'll find out. Let's bring this up to around 3% thrust for that very slow deceleration. So we're going to be coming down like right here. That's interesting for sure. We're going to need to turn this down, I think, and let ourselves just drop for a little bit here. We're at about 3 meters per second, and we've got some distance to go. Yeah, I really don't like this location, but we'll see. Nope. I've decided to abort that. We're going to go somewhere else. Okay. So I got us some horizontal speed there, and we're going to bring this back to up. It's going to be very nearly at up, and we're going to just let ourselves position. So we're heading over this direction, right? The question is, where exactly are we headed? We have a lot of vertical speed right now, and I don't necessarily want to have a lot of vertical. I want to have a little bit more on the horizontal side. So let's bring this over. We're just landing right on top of this ridge, right? That's a bad place to land. And can we angle this, please? Thank you. I just want to land somewhere a wee bit flatter. That would be nice. So I'm just bringing this over to about here or so, getting us some horizontal speed, but we don't want too much horizontal speed. So we're bringing this back over to verticality at this point. We're still 40 seconds to apoapsis, so that should be fine. I'd love to land like down over here. This is something that Kerbal Engineer would help a lot with, but that does not exist over here in KSP2 land, to my knowledge. There might be a version of it that exists, but this is an unmodified install, so. Okay, at this point, we're going to bring this back down again. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to test our landing gear, so there is that. Okay, just bringing it back to verticality, and then we're going to warp a bit. Okay. So we've got 15 seconds at this point until our apoapsis, which is going to be very shortly. Right about now. So now we're starting to go back down. Okay. I'm going to bring this over to retrograde, and I'm not loving exactly where we are here in terms of horizontal position, or where we're going, for that matter. So I'm just taking us over here. Now we're going the other direction a little bit, but I think we're coming down right here, which is definitely not where I want to come down. We just have, like, homing sensors for going directly onto cliff faces. I like it. So I want to move us out over, I feel like, this direction. Man, this thing is so slow to turn. Come on. I want to head out to north. No. I want to go... No. Not this way either. Maybe this way's okay, actually. But I want to head out like this, ever so slightly. Okay, something like that. Now, we're going to move to retrograde, but this is going to be basically up still. But we do want to go towards retrograde here. Okay. We're going in a much better direction now, in theory. So what I want to do at this point is I want to let us coast over this way a little bit and lock to this retrograde position. Okay. And get rid of our horizontal speed about, like, that-ish. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So now we're going to bring this to basically vertical. And we have very little speed, right? So we're going to bring this down. And we're going to warp forward a fair amount. I'm going to make a save here, just in case we have that issue with the landing legs. We didn't get to test that on the previous attempt because I aborted it before we actually touched down. So we're just going to position ourselves like so and head down towards the ground. This looks much flatter. Excellent. We're bringing this down to about here or so. Yeah, this looks way flatter. And I'm going to throttle us up to about 3%. Maybe a little higher than that for right now. 10 meters per second. Okay. Now bringing it down to about 3%. 8 meters per second. 6 meters per second. We are kicking up regolith at this point. Okay, we need to turn this down a little bit. 1% thrust. Okay, these are definitely broken. They still freaked out here. That's okay. We're bringing this back to up, or we're trying to, but the freak out is causing us some issues. We'll see if this is recoverable. I think it is. We're basically not... Oh, I told it to turn to up, but apparently I didn't. Okay, that's my own fault. But we're going to do a slight deceleration here. I think we're okay. We're trying to turn. Oh, when we impacted, it stopped trying to turn. Okay. That's very awkward. But I understand. We're bringing it to up right now. So we know that these are broken. We know that for an absolute fact. We're trying to bring this around. Because I don't want to land over here. Okay. We're going to put this over at retrograde for right now. There we go. Now back to up. We want to land over here. We're going to flip all the way over. Okay, that's exciting. Turn rate is a problem, right? No doubt about that. When we impacted the ground, it flipped us back over to here, which was why I assumed that we were in up and we weren't. So that's fine, but we need to get this moved over here. Specifically, we need to be over at retrograde. Well, but retrograde will be up. We're past the apoapsis now, and we're starting to come back down again. We have to land on the engines because we know the landing legs are indeed fundamentally broken. So that's fine. At this point, I want to move over to the retrograde marker. And we're going to want to put this at like 2% thrust. Okay. So down we come. I'm going to put this in lock here. Oh, that's weird. I'm going to put it in lock. There we go. That's more like what we wanted. We're going to move over to retrograde. This is moving a lot. Noted. I'm going to put this at 3% thrust. And now we want to be at like 1% thrust. Actually, 2%. There we go. This is a slightly worse landing position than what it was previously. That's noted. And we're going to have to let this drop on down. We're a little too high. So we're just moving it to up, and we're just going to bring this in here. 1% thrust. Okay. Put it on up. I believe that we're landed, but we need to let this settle. That was very awkward. No doubt about it. A lot of very awkward things happened there, but it was recoverable. Okay. We're just letting this settle. Should be good, though. It is past time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we are going to do our actual mission here, which is actually to run this experiment. I don't think we actually need to return it. I think that will actually complete it, but that is fine. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings. And a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy McGar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Tommy Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.